So what is the real threat of white nationalism? The answer is that for as much as some of us would like to believe that white supremacists and white nationalists are simply a small group on the fringe of society with little reach or success, their influence is expanding rapidly. Some groups are highly organized, and many of their members are smart and savvy. According to the Anti-Defamation League, far-right extremists are now a connected global threat, with group members sharing information internationally and sometimes traveling to train with one another. In the last few years, white supremacist propaganda on school campuses across the nation has increased from 165 incidences in 2017 to 292 in 2018, and to a high of 433 in 2019. California is one of the states that's experienced one of the larger number of incidences. A 2017 study by James Hawden, who's the director of the Center for Peace Studies and Violence Prevention at Virginia Tech, he found that 70% of Americans aged 15 to 21 were exposed to extremist messages online. This spiked around the 2016 election, and this is compared to only 58% in 2013. Brian Levin, who leads the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at Cal State San Bernardino, is quoted as saying, "We're seeing young people with no criminal records from relatively stable families getting radicalized, mostly on the internet. And the youngest cohort is the most diverse and diversifying. And white nationalism has become sort of a countercultural response to this diversity." We've seen evidence of this spread here in Southern California. In March 2019, we had students from Newport Beach creating a swastika out of Solo cups at an off-campus party. Then in August, an inquiry was reopened into a group of students from Cyprus, seen in a video giving a Nazi salute and singing a Nazi marching song. In September, unapproved flyers from a local white nationalist group were plastered on top of approved flyers promoting an event about immigration. These flyers are from the Patriot Front, which is a known white nationalist group that formed after the Unite the Right March in Charlottesville. Because of the bad press after Heather Heyer was killed, one of the members of Vanguard America, a leading white nationalist group on college campuses at that time, split off, and they are the ones who developed Patriot Front. This is also the same group that vandalized the Democratic Party's Orange County office the weekend before Super Tuesday, earlier in March 2020. In the center paragraph, you can see that Patriot Front's manifesto states their belief that democracy has failed and that the United States should become a non-democratic government. This news article also mentioned that Patriot Front's flyers were found at Cal State Fullerton just this June. This can have life and death consequences in extreme cases. I'm not sure if anybody recalls hearing about Sam Woodward. He's a former Newport Beach high school student who is currently and still being held without bail while awaiting trial for killing a former classmate. Name is Blaze Bernstein, who is both Jewish and gay. He was killed during a holiday break when he came home from college. Continued investigation into the case showed that Woodward trained with one of the most violent neo-Nazi groups, Atomwaffen Division. And it's not just older students that we need to concern ourselves with. Young students are also both content creators and targets of the hate-filled rhetoric. This is Soph. She specializes in YouTube rants against gays, immigrants, Muslims, liberals, and anything else that fits under the heading of diversity and inclusion. Her YouTube account was suspended this last August 2019 after she made violent threats in a video, but not before she reached over 800,000 followers and was able to make as much as $1,500 a month from her Patreon account, where fans can donate to their favorite content creators. Did I mention she was only 14 years old at the time of this activity? We also need to take it seriously when middle school kids do things like form the shape of a swastika out in the schoolyard during a lunch break, or use hate-filled, violent speech with one another. While we do need to hold kids accountable for the harm that they do, we also need to investigate and understand what is it that's influencing them. And these days, while most of our social and community and learning spaces are taking place online, Zoom bombing is a new form of harassment that's disrupting online classrooms and public meetings. This example from just a few days ago highlights the rise in hate crimes that are currently being perpetuated against Asian Americans during this time of the pandemic. Essential to recognize is also that radicalization is happening faster and faster in these last few years. In June 2019, the Cal State San Marcos student who shot and killed people in a synagogue in Poway wrote in his manifesto that he'd only been online engaged with these groups for about a year and a half, and that he couldn't even imagine himself doing anything like this just 6 months prior. So the issues that we are dealing with are multifaceted. We have faster radicalization. We have emboldened hate groups that are able to spread their messages more easily and widely than in the past. And this is creating a hostile environment in our schools, communities, and online.